Hello my angels, welcome back to another video. It has been a while, hasn't it? We decided that with Loki and with Disney properties and Marvel and everything like that we're going to be doing our recap and review show for. We've decided to do just the first and last episode when it comes to stuff like this because it's a bit too much work and effort to do every single episode and it's like a little bit exhausting. We think it would work better for everyone if we did a first episode, do some predictions, see how we think it's gonna go, and then do a last episode / review of the whole series as a whole. So without further ado, today we're gonna be discussing Loki. Obviously you guys probably would have watched our first episode of the recap and review for Loki. Today we've just finished watching the finale. And we are a little bit in shock, but let's go back to like episodes 2 through 6 then. So I personally, like, if you had to pick a favourite episode, I'd say maybe my favourite one was, I think it's episode 3, where they go to Lamentis. I really like just the visuals, the colours, the kind of threat, the stakes of them being there, and I really, really liked them at the end having that kind of connection. Your favourite episode was also episode 3.
I think so. I think it was just for sort of one shot at the end, I think. I would rather... I like that Marvel are going into more creative choices with just the camera work and the cinematography and things like that, because especially with phase 1, it can be quite stale. And it's very cut and dry. Shot here, cut to a shot there, and if you're doing a sort of a 7-8 minute one shot at the end of an episode, then it's just creative. It's fun to, you know, it's enjoyable to watch. I know on that episode, some of the dialogue you found a bit meh, didn't you?
Yeah, I vaguely remember it being really like disjointed and like just not good. And I didn't really like some of the dialogue between Sylvie and Loki. But I personally like to get into the relationship. People keep complaining about it and saying, oh, it's gross, it's self-obsessed. Oh, it gets rid of all of his character development because it's narcissistic to fall in love with yourself and blah, blah, blah. I genuinely do not see romance there. From the creator's point of view, they were trying to tease that and do that. But me personally watching it, I didn't see any chemistry. I saw chemistry in the way of like coming together, getting over their loneliness and trusting someone else and actually relying on each other and becoming friends. I genuinely did not see any chemistry between them. And that's not me being like, eh. Like, I wouldn't really have cared. I think it would have been a bit cheap. But I wouldn't have cared on, like, a prudish point of view of, like, you can't be in love with yourself. I wouldn't give a fuck, to be honest.
And let's be honest, if any character is going to be in love with themselves, it's going to be Loki.
Yeah.
I do see it more on the fact that they're both just really good actors and they can sell it very well. Although, like, maybe the characters, I don't see it that much. Especially in the final episode when... there's just a really good line where Loki says, well, you can't trust anybody and I can't be trusted. And that's such a good summarization of just both of their characters, basically, because she got taken away at a young age, so she can't trust anybody. She's been on the run all her life. And Loki is just... Loki, he's, you know... he's
not actually that far off just having tried to take over New York / the world.
Yeah, exactly.
So he went through a lot of character development in a short space of time to get to where he is now, which was where he was when he got killed by Thanos. I can see why Sylvie doesn't trust him. Yeah. I do understand, but also her choice to do that at the end of the episode, at the end of the finale. Obviously, this is completely spoiler-filled episode of recap review. It always is, but I just thought I'd say that. But her killing the guy at the end, I just felt, you know, she was kind of acting like a child, but then I kind of understood that because she was still in her head as a child, like she kind of never grew past that vengeance, like childish want for revenge from when she was that age. I get it, but I don't know if I like the choice. And you can see her at the end as well, where she just kind of slumps, and you can see she didn't get any satisfaction out of it. She just slumps, and I think she starts crying.
Yeah, she does. And it is a testament, I think, to Jonathan Majors' acting as well, because he, for me anyway, for the final episode, stole the episode. He was completely the highlight, and obviously which he should be, and it's a difficult job to come in on the finale episode and to have to be the center point of a finale of a series that isn't yours. Yeah. You know, so fair play. Like, and knowing who he was and who he has been cast as, I completely wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
Which, again, is a very, very smart move and a good move and a really interesting thing that Marvel can do now because of what has happened. We can see different versions of all characters, and with the finale and just the timeline being completely blown open, it really does allow Marvel just to do whatever they want.
Anything could happen from now.
Like, don't like an actor playing a character, just bring somebody in from a different universe, recast him.
Yeah.
And any different casting choices, any characters from the dead bringing back can easily all just be explained away by, well, it's just the multiverse, isn't it? Phase 4, I don't think they're going to be doing a big sort of 10-year arc like they did with Thanos and the Infinity Saga. I think the big bad of Phase 4, it's going to be a lot more self-contained, so I don't think it's going to span as long. I mean, that's probably a good thing because it has less forgettable villains in smaller movies.
Yeah.
If they're all kind of leading up to one person. Like 10 years having some people, work for Thanos, some people not. You do get forgettable ones, and you are going to have misses. Now that they've got all of the TV shows and all of the movies that are coming out, like we're getting 3 movies this year, we're getting like 4 or 5 TV shows. We've already had about 3 trilogies of worth of content this year already.
In like time.
Yeah. 9 episodes of WandaVision, which equaled about 4.5 hours. You had 6 episodes of Captain America and the Winter Soldier, which
about 4 hours.
About 4.5 hours. And now you've got 5 hours of Loki as well. Then Black Widow came out this year as well. You've got What If coming out.
Which we haven't seen yet. Because we're a little bit about it. We're going to watch it.
I'm not paying Disney Plus to go and see it. We'll have to go to the cinema.
Yeah, we can get 2 for 1 in the cinema, but we might go next week because it's Wednesday today that we're filming. And you get obviously Meerkat 2 for 1 on Tuesday and Wednesday. So we might go next week and then maybe do a video, but unsure. But yeah, there's like so much happening and I'm here for it. Like some people are a bit like, oh, it's all too much. Like even with the original films, like before the TV show started, everyone's like, oh, it's a bit much. I have to
watch 22 movies to understand what's going on.
It's like, yeah, but it's like it would feel like that if you're only just getting into it, which I do understand. For someone who's like followed it along the whole time, it's a really cool thing to be a part of and to watch happen. So episode 2 was where they started with Loki looking for Lady Loki. Lady Loki got revealed. They went to the Apocalypse place to find her, the superstore. Episode 3 then was obviously Lamentus 1. Episode 4 they escaped Lamentus 1, and then what else happened in that episode?
So episode 4,
they went in the time loop.
Yeah, is when they go into the time loop. Sylvie speaks to B15,
yeah,
B14,
Hunter B15.
I can't remember, B15, because she enchanted B15 in a previous episode and was like, what did I see? I looked happy, and she was like, well, you're all variants. Loki tries explaining this to Mobius. Mobius isn't having it, puts him in a time loop, which Civ is there, which I think is kind of like a soft reintroduction before Thor Love and Thunder comes out next year. But that was nice
good to see her again,
because she was the only one who wasn't in Ragnarok who didn't get killed of the his friends.
And I did really like in these earlier episodes the seeds being planted of reveals of like the TVA all being variants and things like that. I really liked the culmination of those seeds blooming. I really liked that, especially with the original Hunter C15, C something
20.
C20 being kind of pruned because she was like, we are variants, and like get going crazy about it. Then the whole lies and Renslayer like kind of still going along with it. I'd like to discuss Renslayer because I said to you during episode 4 and 5, I was very confused about Renslayer's kind of motivations because clearly she wants the same information that Loki and Sylvie are going to find. She wants to know who's in charge, and they keep kind of alluding to that and saying like, oh, well, you want the same thing as us. And it almost felt like a red herring. It's like, oh, well, does she then? Because they kept saying so much like, oh, you want the same thing as me. Then I'm a bit like, well, does she? Definitely in this last episode, I felt like she's kind of been in denial this whole time because she's very much like, but it must be for a reason. Like, otherwise, like in her head, what on earth is it all for? She wants to believe in a higher power, a higher reason, similar to just religion in general, isn't it? She wants to have a reason for her to be taken out of her real life.
It seems that Renslayer is essentially a very similar character to the Lokis, but in a case of she doesn't obviously have the sort of conviction that the Lokis does. She's a lot more conflicted in terms of she she's scared of why the TVA is here and without what the world would be like without the TVA, because Mobius says like, what, a world with free will, and she's like, nah, it's not about free will, it's like, we are here for a reason, we're doing something good, we're dictating something for something, like, you know, so we are here because if we weren't here, something else would be there, and that something else could be a lot worse. Obviously, it could be a lot better.
In a way, she was right, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is kind of funny, because you're meant to kind of, you know, hate Renslayer because she betrays Mobius, and I didn't really like how in this last episode she was like, no, you betrayed me. Like, she had this whole speech about how he betrayed her after eons of friendship and this and that for 2 Loki variants. It was done in a way that made me think that we as an audience were meant to agree or be like, oh, I see both sides. But I was like, well, no. He just discovered that he was a variant and had a life, and now you're like, oh, you betrayed me. Like, I just don't agree with that. I think so. At the end of obviously the episode, you see that the he who remains statue. I think that she has gone to maybe be his right-hand woman. Miss Minute sent her somewhere. We don't know where she sent her. I'm really, really intrigued to find out where she sent her.
I think overall as a series, I think this is definitely the best one that they've done. I do like the timing that they put them out. Put WandaVision first, and then Falcon, Winter Soldier, and now this. This is, I think, though, the most influential one to the MCU. Everything, all the theories that we had about WandaVision and what was happening towards the end has kind of been debunked, but also at the same time said, well, no, it's actually Loki and the TVA that's causing all of this.
Yes.
I read this thing after we watched the episode that it's not Wanda, obviously, that causes the multiversal war in Multiverse of Madness, but it would be Loki and the TVA and all these branches kind of all converging together. And somebody said that's probably why Wanda can hear her kids at the end of her series, because that must be the point of when it's happening. I find it funny that some people and some like executives and higher ups were like, well, the Disney Plus is our Disney Plus shows. The Disney Plus shows are a nice little sort of buffer, and it lifts up the movies, but they're not essential to watch.
Just provides like a bit of background and a bit more if you're interested.
How the fuck are they not essential? So in like, let's just say Multiverse of Madness, Loki, Sylvie, and all of these people show up, and
Wanda shows up dressed as a sorceress.
Everyone's gonna be like,
what the fuck?
What? Like Agatha Harkness shows up, and they're gonna be like, who?
Yeah.
Who?
People are saying like, oh, I don't have 6 hours. It's like, you do over a couple of months though, in between them coming out. I really liked the finale episode because I really liked the visuals of where they were. Miss Minutes, I'm still a little bit like, is she her own entity? Was she just created by He Who Remains? Like, she seems to have her own motives and her own like initiative, because obviously she's gone to make Renslayer go somewhere, gave her different files that Renslayer didn't want. This Miss Minutes, did she immediately change? Because she gave Renslayer those files before Sylvie killed He Who Remains. So it's a bit like, well, is this something that's a backup plan from He Who Remains? As he said to her, Miss Minutes, or programmed Miss Minutes to be like, if this happens, do this, kind of as a fail-safe, so that he can get... Because he said, if you kill me, I'm just going to end up right back here. It's very confusing, and I love it. As you guys know, I love books that have like timey-wimey stuff and like different shit going on with timelines or messing around with time, anything like that. I love it. I eat it up. That's like one of the tropes that like is one of my favourites. And having it be in Loki, I think, has just made me enjoy it even more, because I just love it. I love the fact that they can just go into whatever timeline they want. It's insane. And like the whole cosmic idea of this one man, like, because if most people who watch Marvel, I feel like, don't really read the comics. And then some people like me and you don't read the comics, but we like to look up some stuff. Or we'll watch like Comics Explained on a couple of videos. I really like him. I would recommend him if anyone like wants to check him out. So in the comics, there are certain beings or people that exist that are like the most clever in the comics or in the Marvel universe. One being like Reed Richards' son, who is Mr. Fantastic, and things like that. I've never heard of the name of this person, He Who Remains. We are going to talk a bit about that at the end, but we will give a little spoiler warning before that. but I've never heard of this guy's real name. So to me, him being like the guy who discovers the multiverse and creates the way to get through multiverse is like so mind-blowing to me. I think he's incredible. I think he's a really cool character. And the fact that all this shit happened beforehand, like usually when something happens beforehand, you get a bit of like, it kind of falls flat and you don't really get the scope of it because, you know, it's a previous thing that's happened. It's not being shown in real time. But I really felt the scope of what he was explaining about him and his other variants. I've really felt like, oh, fuck.
With any show that messes around with time, there's always going to be inconsistencies, and there's always going to be...
I don't think there are, though. I get it. Like, I think that's not... I get that.
It does make sense for the whole of the show, but, like, if you really start thinking about it and stuff like that, it's like, well...
I don't think it is.
A lot of stuff to do with time and time travel and things like that. It always has like a fallacy in it, I suppose.
Well, yeah, because time travel isn't real. It doesn't exist. So so in real life, there are no hard and fast rules about what time travel is and what you should follow. So when something doesn't really make logical sense, it's kind of like, well, no, it doesn't, because it's not real.
Like, suspend disbelief a little bit. When
People will never be happy, I don't think, with any... I've never heard of a person being happy with time travel, ever. Doctor Who, everyone's always like, well, why couldn't you go back and get Amy and Rory? It's like, well, he can't because of this rule. And they're like, well, that rule's stupid.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, yeah, but it's not real.
It's like a fixed point in time.
Yeah.
That they can't be changed. Like, certain things have to happen for things to carry on.
Yeah, so I really, really liked overall this series. It is definitely my favourite so far, but not because I'm a Loki fangirl. He's great. I think he's a great actor.
Yeah, he's fantastic in it. This is probably his best work as Loki. Obviously, this is the most time he's had to really shine, I suppose. Like, everything, he is a side character for all the other things he's been in. One thing I do want to mention is Natalie Holt, who is the composer of this show, has absolutely fucking knocked it out of the park. The music of this show is just fantastic. All like the Loki theme, the TVA theme, just the what is it? What's the instrument called that you use your hand in?
Oh,
the theremin. The use of the theremin, and just, I don't know why, but like just that sort of sound for me is always just like, ooh, time.
Yeah, it's very intriguing.
And it is very like, ooh, time going on. So the use of that and just all of this, the music in it, phenomenal. So
yeah,
huge props to Natalie Holt there. She's probably going to get fucking loads of work after this. And Kate Herron, who was the creator, I suppose, of the show and director. I'm pretty sure she directed all the episodes. I hope she returns for season 2, which got announced right at the end.
Oh my god, I forgot about that. Season 2, so the first TV show that's actually like, we're gonna have a season 2.
Yeah.
Which I do understand, and it makes sense because there were cliffhangers. I did assume that those cliffhangers were just gonna be solved in a movie. In the movies. I don't see, like, you know, so for example now, like, there's so much going on end of this year. There's so much going on next year. I don't want to wait 2 years for, like, Loki season 2.
I genuinely don't think we will be. I think it'll be happening very soon because they were finishing up this episode when the first episode aired. The turnaround of some of these shows and movies that they've got now in Marvel are ridiculous.
So you think they'll, even though they've like given a slate for the next 2 years, basically, you think they'll just slot it in? Okay, fair. I'd be happy with that because I think obviously the stuff with He Who Remains is obviously going to be in films because it's quite a big thing. But I think the thing with Renslayer might not be. No. Like that plot thread, I think, is something else to do with Loki. So like Loki, the show. So I don't really want to wait that long. I'll lose interest. Like, people will lose interest. So just for the last few seconds or few minutes, we're going to discuss He Who Remains as a character and who he really is. I've left this till the end because I know some people watch the shows and they're not really interested in like what the comics are, who the characters are from the comics. They just want to watch it fresh and have a new character introduced. Because in the episode they didn't say his name, that's why I'm kind of hesitating to say it out loud throughout this review. But for a couple of seconds now, we're just going to talk about how the guy was cast, what his real name is, who he is in the comics, and that kind of thing. So if you're not interested in that and you do just want to be, you know, find out when the films when it gets revealed, then skip the last few seconds or a few minutes of this. Spoiler alert for He Who Remains.
Kang
the Conqueror! Now, this character Kang, I had never heard of. I'm not gonna lie to you. Never heard of him. The only reason I'd ever heard of him was because I'd seen whispers on Reddit and the internet and stuff about him being a character coming out soon.
I think I had heard of him before sort of Phase 4 was getting announced and things like that. Just as a character. Like I knew he was just a big bad in the comics as a character. And then when Disney and Marvel did their big sort of slate where they, like Kevin Feige was actually announcing things in order, and when they were like finally actually coming out in the definitive order that they were coming out, towards the end when he was talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, he said all of the actors obviously are returning as this, and also Jonathan Majors has been cast as Kang the Conqueror. So he's basically going to be the big bad, or maybe not, but he's going to be in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania.
Which is not till like next June.
2023.
2023?
Which makes me think that's why I'm thinking Loki Season 2 will happen before then.
We're getting married in 2023.
I know. 2023, like, they need a bit more bad Kang development before then, so that makes me think Loki Season 2 will deal with that. At the end of Loki Season 2, maybe Kang will escape, Kang will get out somewhere, or he will hide in the quantum realm, which will then Ant-Man will find him there and release him. Maybe
some stuff in Multiverse of Madness as well to do with him, hopefully.
Yeah. Because, I mean, he's Kang the Conqueror, and from what he explained when he was talking to Loki and Sylvie, is that he basically... he found Alioth, he harnessed Alioth's power, and he conquered all of his other selves to create the sacred timeline and be here. And by killing him, bad Kang and an evil Kang basically is going to kind of take his place. And when Sylvie kills him, and the little wink, see you soon, is kind of like, you've killed the nice one. Nice one, he still did kill all of his other selves and harnessed everything, but like in like he said, in it's practical. The TVA, it's a practical means. It's a practical for the bigger picture, to keep everything as it should be and not cause this absolute fucking chaos.
I really like when he was just like, grow up!
Murderer, hypocrite.
Grow up, Sylvie.
Yeah.
I really like that.
That shows as well, that little bit shows that he... like, just the actor and the character can very easily flip. Yeah,
at one point I was like, is he insane? Yeah, after so long being alone and like figuring it out, and he flipped between those two kind of personalities, like really drop of a hat. The acting was incredible.
And I think seeing all versions of scenarios that can happen and different ways that things can happen throughout all of time obviously would play havoc on your mind. So he has gone a little bit loopy because of that. For the most part, I mean, I loved his character, and I really can't wait to see him alongside Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly and Ant-Man. I think that's going to be really fucking good. Like, I think he's going to play a really good part in that. If we can see he's played kind of like a funny, him and Paul Rudd, like Ant-Man, I think it's a perfect villain for that movie type of thing, where the villains have been, for first two Ant-Man movies, pretty villain.
Yeah.
No real...
just straight up evil, like...
Yeah, well, I mean, not really.
There was a bit of a, moral dilemma in the second one with the girl.
Ghost wasn't really. She was just
I meant the big people, like the men. Yeah. Basically.
Exactly, yeah, the men.
Very excited to see what happens next in the multiverse.
Kang is going to be the big bad of Phase 4, for sure. Shang-Chi is coming out. That's going to be very, very good from the trailers. Honestly, I cannot wait. It looks amazing.
I am excited for these films, but I'm hoping that there is a little bit of stuff that's going to be brought forward. I do want a little bit more from these films. I'm expecting more now, because with WandaVision, Falcon, not really so much Falcon Winter Soldier, but maybe because we might see John Walker further on and stuff like that. But and with Loki, I'm expecting a little bit more now, so I'm hoping the films will do the same thing that these TV shows have done, and have a little bit more of like this is a continuation and like everything's linked, rather than like the first couple of phases where it was a little bit disjointed, but then it was like, oh, we are going somewhere. I want them to just weave everything. I want it to be confusing. I really want it to be confusing. Okay, we have talked for a long time. If you like this video, please do give it a like below. Follow the playlist, because we do recap and review, that's the name of our show, for all of the Marvel properties. We're also going to be trying to look into doing other things, like talking about Black Mirror, Love, Death and Robots, like other shows and things to do with fantasy, SFF, that kind of thing, because that's our thing. We like sci-fi and fantasy. And make sure you subscribe if you want to see more of us. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in another video.